Hello everyone, today I'm reviewing Criers Cross by Lisa McMann. At the start of this story, we are introduced to the town of Criers Cross through a tragedy. A young freshman at the high school, Tiffany Quinn, has disappeared, and for Kendall, our main character, she is spending her last week as a junior going and searching the fields and everywhere around the town in search of Tiffany or her body, rather than spending it in class doing exams. Unfortunately for Kendall, who has OCD, obsessive-compulsive disorder, not a really good thing, and by the end of the week, there is still no news on Tiffany. So, Kendall goes to her regular summer routine of driving the family tractor on the potato farm. And because of the fact that driving the tractor really doesn't need your brain, it means that her OCD mind can focus on Tiffany and what's going on there, which isn't actually a good thing. Kendall is looking forward to September, though, going back to school and her regular routine, and also applying to Juilliard in their dance program. When September finally rolls around, the first day, Nico, her friend and neighbor, shows up to class, and he tells her that not only over the summer that a family moved in, but that their 2 children are going to be attending their school, and they're going to be in the same class as them. Enter Hacian and Marlena. Marlena is Hacian's younger sister, and she is just this ray of sunshine. She's the person that you kind of want to hate, but you can't, and you just really want to be friends with. She brightens up the room the minute she walks into it. Hacian, on the other hand, is a dark, brooding figure. He walks into the room, and you can just feel the vibe that he does not want to be there, and he actually didn't want to move to Criers Cross either. That is quite plain from the moment you meet him. Unfortunately, Kendall is looking forward to the school year being completely normal, but when Nico starts acting weird, Kendall's life spirals out of control. Now, for this story, I was actually surprised. I was expecting a mystery where the youth in Criers Cross keep disappearing mysteriously, but I actually got a little scarier story than I was expecting. Now, I am not afraid to admit it. I am a chicken, and I am proud of it. I have a hard time with scary or horror-ish things. Even though I will try to act like an adult and go through it, it still freaks me out, and sometimes does cause nightmares. This, on the other hand, was one where the storyline and plot kept me reading because I wanted to know what was happening. Unlike if I was watching this as a movie, I could actually get through this as long as there was a light on and I knew that there were people in the house. The story is one that leaves you guessing right up until you hear the actual facts at the end of the story, and I really enjoyed that. As you can tell from this cover, it does have something to do with a desk, and I just didn't know exactly what this desk had to do with the story. Now, I really like this cover, and when you rub it, it actually feels like the material on the cover of a desk. That soft, glossy, wooden feel. They did a cover change, and although I do like that cover, it really seems to emphasize more of a romance, whereas this emphasizes more of the creepy aspect. There is an underlying theme of romance in this story, and it wasn't in an overabundance, which I really liked. Because of that, I found that I really didn't find out any problems with regards to that romance. Now, at times, I did find it a little frustrating with the actual writing, such as the fact there are quite a number of the one-word sentences, or the fact that this is written completely in present tense, no past or future. And that kind of gets frustrating after a while, but I understood why it was in present. It was leading through the story as if it was happening right this second, and I did enjoy that. You were learning things as the author intended you to. One thing, though, that really confused me is, should I call this a first-person narrative or a third-person narrative? Because throughout most of the book, it's a first-person narrative from Kendall. But there are times when Kendall isn't looking at something and the author will narrate a part with regards to another character doing something that our main character doesn't see. So should I call it a first or a third? I don't know. The ending of this was concluded very well, but the author still included a portion that could include her being able to go back and write a sequel should she want to. Because Kendall has OCD, you're going to notice a repetitive with some of the writing, specifically with numbers, and I was really interested, not with the numbers that Kendall kept in her head for certain things, but the actual numbers for the quotes that are included at sporadic moments in the text, and I really enjoyed that. Now, if you guys have not read this and you do not want to be spoiled, then I would sign out right now. But if you're not planning on reading it and you would like to hear the spoilers, or you have read it, then stick around, because this is one story you're probably not going to want to be spoiled on. It will wreck it for you. In order to start this spoilery portion, I want to just talk about the small underlying theme of romance. I thought it was very beautiful and it was very well developed. It wasn't something that just automatically happened. There were some barriers that needed to be torn down. Now, I really enjoyed the rides in the truck between Hayseed and Kendall. The way that they sat with basically an arm's length away from each other really showed how they felt about each other and the way that they treated each other. And then at the end, when Hayseed's character actually pulls Kendall in to warm her up after she had been lost and almost killed, really showed where the barrier had been broken and they no longer held that respective distance. I had two scenes that I really enjoyed between Hayseed and Kendall. The second scene that I really enjoyed was at the end when Hayseed calls Kendall to come and visit her, and you find out he's actually in the hotel lobby. I really loved that part. But my favorite scene was actually when Kendall and Hayseed play soccer in the rain, and Kendall tackles Hayseed and they just kind of lay there in the mud. I don't think any movie can do justice to how my head pictured that scene. Now, before I go on to the actual creep aspect, I just wanted to mention with regards to Nico's character. He was such a beautiful character, the way he was described and the way he treated Kendall, even knowing that she has OCD, and just helping her to stay comfortable with that. Just the way that he was remembered throughout most of the story, I was really hopeful that he was not dead at the end of the book. And when Kendall actually finds his body, that scene just tore my heart out, because he was such a beautiful character, and you feel the loss, even though he really wasn't in the majority of the story alive. Now, talking about the creep aspect, I wasn't actually expecting the desk to be possessed by the dead boys that had been whipped to death. And actually, when Mr. Greenwood and Hector told the story about Mr. Cryer and the reform school, that broke my heart, because those two men are the nicest men in this town. And listening to them reliving that story was just horrifying. The fact that he would whip them a certain amount of times, and the fact that some of the boys would die from the beatings they would get from him, just destroyed me. It was absolutely terrifying, and it was really sad as well. One thing with regards to it is you really don't know how that all was taking place throughout the entire story until you get to the end and these two men sit down and tell Kendall this backstory to why this happened. Now, Kendall, on the other hand, when she is trying to go and find Nico, I don't understand why she knew to grab certain things, but the fact that you're listening to her mind with her OCD going on about things while she's following what she's being told to do was just terrifying, because you realized it was almost like her brain was telling her one thing, but her body was telling her another. And when she starts digging, I was really confused. And then it said she hit bone, and I was like, okay, what's going on there? And then she gets in the grave, and she starts burying herself alive. That petrified me completely. I had to put the book down for a second because I couldn't believe that was happening. Now, I kind of understand, did she get into a grave where another boy was buried? I think so. At the end, when Mr. Greenwood and Hector are burning the desk, you hear Kendall state that she feels this cold breath of air leave her lungs and this faint screaming. And I was wondering, do you think when she got into the grave, one of the boys spirits went into her body? I don't know. I think so. You're never really told though. Anyway, guys, I was really impressed at the end when you're left thinking, did they actually stay in the desk and just burn up, or did they leave the desk and go somewhere else and possess maybe another desk in the school? I don't know. Let me know what you guys thought of this. Are you interested in reading it? Have you read it? What did you think of the things that I mentioned? Also, what do you think of the cover change, making it look more romantic rather than a little more creepy? Anyway, guys, I will see you in my next video. Until then, go and pick up a random book and read. Bye, guys.